Hello everyone. So starting right away with rabies, beginning with the classification, rabies is under family Rhabdoviridae. Now it has two genus, Lyssa virus and vesiculovirus, and we will be studying rabies under the Lyssa virus genus. So this is the classification. Then our next subtopic is structure. Now rabies has a very beautiful structure you can see here, and this is nothing but the bullet shaped rabies virus. Now it is very simple to remember the structure and what are the components just by this diagram. So you can see this gray shaped, this one is the envelope, this is the lipid envelope. Then on those lipid envelope are the glycoprotein G spikes, which we will study are mainly responsible for what we know as the very deadly rabies virus, mainly the pathogenesis. Then this green colored is the protein structure. This is the matrix protein, under which we have this very beautiful helical symmetrical shaped RNA, which is the single stranded negative sense RNA, and this has the nucleoprotein. Now the size is, the width is 75 nanometer and the length is 180 nanometer. And just like any bullet has a cell outside it, so this virus also has a cell, that is the envelope. And we already studied what are the non-enveloped structure in RNA virus. So when we study RNA virus, there are certain viruses which are non-enveloped, and those are Picorna, Astro, Rio, Calici, Hep A and Hep E, means hepatitis A and hepatitis E. This is Picorna, this is Astro, this is Rio, this is Calici virus, right? So this rabies is an enveloped virus. Then it has a single serotype, but still there are certain antigenic variations which are due to the glycoprotein spikes on the envelope. Now I told you this G protein is mainly responsible for the neuroinvasiveness and the pathogenicity, and also it has heme agglutinin activity, because of which we can easily detect this by heme agglutination inhibition test. Now comparing the G protein which are on the envelope versus the nucleoprotein which are inside the RNA particle, inside the matrix protein. So we already studied, so this neuroinvasiveness, pathogenicity, heme agglutinin activity is for G protein, which are absent for nucleoprotein. Then because this is heme agglutinin, this has a heme agglutinin property, we can detect on heme agglutination inhibition test, while this nucleoprotein we can detect on complement fixation test or direct immunofluorescence test. Now this G protein also produces neutralizing antibody, because of which we are able to produce vaccine against this, but nucleoprotein has no such neutralizing antibody producing property, because of which we are not making vaccine against this. Then coming to reservoir, so it mainly affects the warm-blooded like the fox, wolf, rabbit, cats, and the most common the dog, goats. Even human to human contact is possible, but the fact that human will bite another human, that is very rare, but yes, it is theoretically possible. Next, the very important part we are coming is the mode of transmission. Now before going to the mode of transmission, let us discuss something about the street virus versus the fixed virus. Now the street virus is the one which are freshly isolated, while fixed virus which we are isolating after we have done many intracerebral inoculation into the cell line or rabbit, and then we have isolated that virus particle. So a simple way to remember is this fixed virus has a fixed incubation period of 4 to 6 days. Thus, we are making vaccines out of this. Because obviously we are doing so much of work, we are doing serial inoculation with the cell line or the rabbit just to make this vaccine. But this street virus, it has a very variable incubation period ranging from 1 to 3 months, or we can say up to like 10 to 90 days. And this is the one which are causing disease. So once we know this street virus, like हमें कौन सा कुत्ता काटता है, तो स्ट्रीट वाले डॉग्स काटते हैं, उनसे रेबीज होता है, तो दे आर द डिजीज कॉजिंग ना, वो डिजीज कर रहे हैं, सो दे विल शो नेगरी बॉडीज, ऑब्वियसली दे आर देन पैथोजेनिक, एंड बिकॉज दे आर पैथोजेनिक दे विल इन्वॉल्व द सलाइवरी ग्लैंड. बट फिक्स वायरस में हम बस वैक्सीन के लिए यूज़ कर रहे हैं, नीदर वी आर गेटिंग नेगरी बॉडीज, नीदर वी आर पैथोजेनिक, एंड नीदर दे आर इन्वॉल्विंग सलाइवरी ग्लैंड्स. क्लियर? देन before going, let us see what is the pathogenesis. So I have tried to make it simple, so let us see. So this is the dog, and dogs are mainly responsible, like 97% of the cases are due to dog bites only. Other possible methods are licks on abrasions or wound. Corneal transplantation is also a way, so this can be important. And virus inhalation may be due to the bat feces. We can inhale the virus. So, but still the main cause is the dog bite. So once the dog bite the human, it will go into the muscles or the connective tissue. There they will multiply, then they will enter the neuromuscular junction, where they are getting themselves attached to the acetylcholine receptor. Then moving in a centripetal manner, they will go to the peripheral motor nerves, then to the dorsal root ganglion of spinal cord, then finally to the brain. And in which part of the brain they are most predominant? The hippocampus and the cerebellum. And thus these are the areas where we will be getting negri bodies. Then from the hippocampus and the cerebellum, they will move in a centrifugal manner, go to the sensory and autonomic nerves, and then disseminate to various organs, most common being the salivary glands, then pancreas, kidney, heart, retina, cornea. But is blood involved anywhere? No. So viremia is not possible. The virus will go to various organs, but it does not disseminate into the blood per se. So viremia is not seen. So I hope this pathogenicity is a bit simplified and you can remember it now. Okay, great. Then now talking from the pathology point of view, they will show mononuclear cell infiltration, negri bodies, perivascular cuffing of lymphocytes. Lymphocytes will gather around the vessels, and the Babe's nodule, which will mostly involve the glial cells. Now this negri bodies itself is important. So this is intracytoplasmic eosinophilic inclusions. Now every word has to be taken care of. Intracytoplasmic eosinophilic inclusions in the brain neurons, and these inclusions will contain the RNA and the viral proteins. Now it helps in the post-mortem diagnosis of rabies, because we have to cut open the brain and then take the biopsy and then visualize these bodies. So it is only for the post-mortem diagnosis of rabies. Now this negri bodies is absent in 20% of the cases. So can we say if there are no negri bodies, there are no rabies? Can we say that? No, because they are absent in 20% cases. So absence of negri bodies does not rule out rabies, but negri bodies is pathognomic of rabies, and they are mostly in the Purkinje cells of cerebellum and hippocampus. And To visualize the Negri bodies, we are using something called the Celestane. So this is basic fusin plus methylene blue. Now coming to the clinical features. We already talked about the incubation period of the street virus because we are mostly concerned with the street virus, not the fixed virus. So the incubation period is 1 to 3 months and approximately 20 to 90 days. And this will actually depend on the site of bite and the stature of the individual, because this incubation period is mostly from the site of infection, from the site of bite, and then traveling up till the CNS. So if it is a child or the bite is on the upper part like the head, neck or the upper limbs, or the person is a short person, or he has genetic predisposition, or the host immunity is very less, in that case it will be even less. Now we can divide this clinical feature, the variations in clinical feature, into 3 basic parts: the prodromal phase, the acute neurological phase and the coma and death. So this is just PAC. Now, in the prodromal, we already know the non-specific symptoms will show up: fever, malaise, anorexia, nausea, vomiting, photophobia, abdominal pain, sore throat. All of these non-specific systemic features will show up. Then in the neurological phase, there can be 2 extremes. One, if the person is completely paralyzed, and the other if the person is completely hypermobile. He is very much aggravated, he is very much furious. We call that encephalitic phase or the furious rabies, and that is the case in most of the people. So in 80% it is the encephalitic phase, and in 20% it is paralytic phase. So in paralytic there will be flaccid paralysis. Initially the leg on which the bite has taken place will be paralyzed. Ultimately all the 4 limbs will be involved, so it will lead to quadriparesis with facial paralysis, right? Now in encephalitic phase or the furious phase, which is comprising 80% of the neurological phase, it is easy to remember because we have told the furious means बहुत furious होगा, mean इधर उधर दौड़ रहा होगा, भाग रहा होगा, and all the symptoms you have seen in the patient of rabies like hydrophobia, aerophobia. Then due to sympathetic dysfunction, he will show foaming, increased lacrimation, salivation, sweating, priapism, and there will be lucid interval. Now you can easily relate all of these symptoms when I say furious. But still, if you want to remember, it's all adjacent to each other, like E, F, then nothing with G, then you have H. From F you have foaming, from H you have hyperexcitability, from H you have hydrophobia, then I you have interval, lucid interval, and then the third phase, the coma and death. So the person will ultimately land up in coma, and in 14 days it will lead to death. Then coming to lab diagnosis, the best method is to detect the antigens, and the best site is the hair follicles from the nape of neck. That is the most sensitive. Or you can take a corneal smear, because we already told that the mode of infection, the mode of transmission is mostly a dog bite, but it can also be a corneal transplantation. So in that case, taking a corneal smear might help. And the gold standard diagnosis is the direct immunofluorescence test, which we studied was for the fixed virus. Then we can isolate the virus from mouse or from the cell lines. Then the antibody detection from serum or the CSF, and we can do a complement fixation test or a heme agglutination inhibition test. Then as usual for all RNA virus, we can do a RT-PCR, and then finally the Negri bodies for the post-mortem diagnosis. Then what is the treatment? There is no treatment for rabies virus. you can isolate the patient, keep him in a dark room where there are no light, no sound, nothing. Keep him hydrated. You can give anti-anxiety medicines or sedatives like morphine. Then coming to the most important part, that is how to prevent rabies or the vaccination. So the three lead points you have to remember: the local wound care. You will wash the wound with a water and a soap for 15 to 20 minutes. You will apply antibiotics if required. And you have to keep in mind, you do not have to stitch the wound. No stitching. It is absolutely contraindicated. So this local wound part is done. Then passive immunization. You will give immunoglobulin. Either it can be equine rabies immunoglobulin or human rabies immunoglobulin. For equine rabies immunoglobulin, the dose is 40 international unit per kg, while for HRIG it is 20 international unit per kg, and this is given only once in a lifetime. So to whom you will give this immunoglobulin? If it is a category 3, which we will talk about, and to the person who is never immunized before, to those person you can give human rabies immunoglobulin. Then coming to active immunization, which include the vaccine. Now there are two types of vaccines, the neural vaccine and non-neural vaccine, and this is a very important topic, and this is a university question as well. So do you know this rabies vaccine was developed by which person? This was developed by Louis Pasteur. Now this Louis Pasteur developed three vaccines, which we remember by the mnemonic CAR: the cholera vaccine, the anthrax vaccine, and the rabies vaccine. In the neural vaccine, you have three vaccines: the sample vaccine, and this S for SIP brain. So you have derived this vaccine from inoculating the virus into the SIP brain and then inactivating it with phenol. The second modification is BPL vaccine, which is beta propiolactone vaccine. It is the same as simple vaccine, it's just that you are inactivating with BPL, beta propiolactone, instead of phenol. And the third is infant mouse brain vaccine. You are inoculating the virus into an infant mouse or newborn mouse and then deriving the vaccine. Then coming to non-neural vaccine. Here now, what was the disadvantage of neural vaccine? That we shifted over to non-neural vaccine. This neural vaccine was encephalitic. It has poor immunogenic property and it led to certain neurological complications due to the myelin component in the vaccine. So we shifted over to the non-neural vaccine, which included the egg-derived vaccine, recombinant viral vaccine, and the cell line derived vaccine. Currently in India, we are using these recombinant viral vaccine and the cell line derived vaccine, more particularly this cell line derived vaccine. Egg derived vaccine is no more used, but we have to know the names. So there are two vaccines in the egg derived vaccines which we are obtaining from the allantoic cavity. The first is the purified duck embryo vaccine. This is purified duck embryo vaccine, and the live attenuated chick embryo vaccine. In the recombinant viral vaccine, we are recombining this vaccinia virus, which has the rabies surface gene. And in the cell line derived vaccine, we have again three vaccines: the purified chick embryo cell vaccine, the purified Vero cell vaccine, and the human diploid cell vaccine, which is the WI38 cell line. Now, having remembered so much, how to actually remember this? So take the first word SBI. So this is your neural vaccine, and the non-neural vaccine E, take the first two letters, so E, then RECE, so SBI E-Race. So just like everything is going online right now, we have the SBI E-Race. So S for sample vaccine, B for BPL vaccine, I for infant mouse brain vaccine. Then this is the neural component and this is the non-neural vaccine. This E is the egg derived vaccine. Then this RE is the recombinant viral vaccine and this CE is the cell line derived vaccine. So now it is simple to remember all the vaccines for rabies virus. SBI is for neural vaccine and the E-Race is for non-neural vaccine. Now since you have further vaccines in these non-neural components, so let us break them as well. So this egg derived vaccine has two components, C to D. The C is the chick embryo vaccine and D is the duck embryo vaccine. Clear? So this is purified chick embryo, this is live attenuated, this is purified duck embryo and this is live attenuated chick embryo. Then this recombinant, this is only one component, the vaccinia virus, you are recombining with vaccinia virus. Then this cell line, the same thing, C to D and then D to V, just like we did in egg derived C to D. Here we are just adding this V component. So C is again for chick embryo cell line, then D is for diploid. Mind it, this is not duck, this is diploid cell line and human diploid cell line, and this V is vero cell line. Once you know these things, you can add purified and human diploid, you can at least relate it, right? So yes, this is what I have written. Sample, BPL, infant mouse brain, this is neural component, this is non-neural component. Egg derived, recombinant, cell line derived. In this you have chick and duck. In this you have only vaccinia. In cell line derived you have C, D, V. This chick embryo cell line, this diploid cell line and vero cell line. So I hope it is easier to remember now. Then coming to the most important part. Now we have divided the bite into three categories, category 1, 2 and 3. So who comes under category 1? If the person has an intact skin, and in this case no treatment is required, you will only do the wound management. Then category 2, if there is a minor abrasion or a minor cut due to the bite, in that case you will give rabies vaccine, which we will talk about. And in category 3, if there is oozing of blood, if the blood comes into picture, you have to mention it under category 3. You will give rabies vaccine plus immunoglobulin. Then what are the different regimens for? Now there can be post-exposure prophylaxis, pre-exposure prophylaxis and re-exposure. So post-exposure, you have been bitten by this dog, you have to do a post-exposure prophylaxis. Suppose you are a veteran doctor or someone who deals with pets every day, you already take a pre-exposure prophylaxis so that the dog, even if it's bite, you are safe. And re-exposure, a dog bites you, you take a post-exposure prophylaxis, then after some time he again bites you, you again take a re-exposure prophylaxis, right? So talking about the post-exposure prophylaxis, after you have been bitten by a dog, There are various regimens like the SN regimen, modified SN regimen, the Thai Red Cross regimen, the IPC regimen, which we are currently using right now in India, and the modified Zagreb regimen. Now this table is to simplify it a bit. First, talking about the SN regimen, these are the dates: day 0, 3, 7, 14, 21, 28. Then SN regimen, you give intramuscular on day 0, 3, 7, 14, 21. 5 doses, 5 days. Then modified SN, you give 4 doses intramuscular on day 0, 3, 7 and the last dose on day 14 or 21. Then the Thai Red Cross regimen, you give intradermal and you give 2 doses on day 0, 3, 7 and 28. In the IPC regimen, you give intradermal 2 doses on day 0, 3, 7. Then the modified Zagreb, you give 2 doses on day 0, then 1 dose on day 7 and another 1 dose on day 21. So the regimen which mentions C, and you can see in Thai Red Cross also, so you give intradermal in that case. In all the other case, we are giving intramuscular. So all the regimen which are starting with C or which have C, you are giving intradermal. All these other regimens does not have a C, right? Now you can differentiate between SN and modified SN. 1 dose each on continuously, and in modified SN you give the last 1 dose either on day 14 or 21. Then in Thai Red Cross, now one more way is all these ID ones, the intradermal ones, you are giving 2 doses each. So in Thai Red Cross, you are giving 2 doses on day 0, 3, 7 and 1 extra on 28, which you are not giving in IPC. That is the only difference. And modified Zagreb, it is 2, 0, 1, 0, 1. Then in pre-exposure prophylaxis, you are giving on day 0 and 7. Either you can give intramuscular on one side, intradermal on 2 sides, because we told intradermal is for 2 doses. So on intradermal 2 sides. Then re-exposure prophylaxis, you are giving on day 0 and 3, intradermal one side only here, and intramuscular also one side. Or you can give on day 0 itself, you can give intradermal 4 sides. So this is the accelerated dose. Now the last thing we have to discuss, suppose a person has been bitten by this dog. Now there can be 3 conditions. If the person was never immunized, you straight away go with a post-exposure prophylaxis, and the recommended ones is the IPC regimen. What was the IPC regimen? Day 0, 3, 7, 2, 2, 2. Now the difference between thyroid was you were giving one extra 2 dose on day 28, right? So 2, 2, 2. This is what we are giving right now. If the person was previously immunized, you ask him if he has been immunized for more than 3 months or for less than 3 months. If for less than 3 months, no requirement, doesn't require any treatment. If more than 3 months, you give him a re-exposure prophylaxis. What was the re-exposure prophylaxis? On day 0 or 3, total 2 doses, ID or IM on one side, or on day 0 itself you give ID on 4 sides. Then in pre-exposure prophylaxis, so if the person had been was already on a pre-exposure prophylaxis, you again ask him if he had taken the pre-exposure prophylaxis more than 3 months or less than 3 months. If less than 3 months, nothing required. If more than 3 months, again the re-exposure prophylaxis you will give. This is again day 03, you will give ID or IM, or on day 0 itself you give ID on 4 sides. So this is what you have to know, everything in and out about rabies. I hope I tried to make it a bit simple and it helped you. So with that, thank you very much.